In the history of humanity, no matter how dark, bloody, or violent times we live in, we always had art. I mean, no matter what's going on, we always had books, music, movies, and artists ready to work on their creation, no matter how bad the world is. And today we can say the same thing about video game developers. I'm honored to introduce 3 such game creators, members of a brave team working on the upcoming game called STALKER 2, Heart of Chernobyl. And those 3 amazing people are Dmitry Anoshka, lead level artist. Hi, Dmitry.
Hi.
Serafim Onyszczenko, narrative designer.
Hello.
And Bogdan Bortakov, game designer.
Hey.
Before we will start, I need to stress one thing. I played the first installment in the STALKER series when I was a teenager, and the whole original trilogy had a huge impact on me. Talking to the developers responsible for the next installment in this series, it's something amazing. So thank you very much for your time. So let's begin. How does this installment, STALKER 2, build upon the legacy of the previous STALKER games? Will fans of the original trilogy find in STALKER 2 a lot of references to the previous titles, and generally, will they feel at home?
STALKER 2 is a huge, seamless open world consisting of many regions. Every region has its own characteristic: architecture, inhabitants, anomalies, and even nature. And for many of this region, the real-life Chernobyl exclusion zone and the location from the original trilogy were the main inspiration for us. But after the events of Call of Pripyat, time has passed, and some familiar locations have undergone changes. For example, some have been taken over by other factions, some formerly abandoned locations have been inhabited, some have become completely empty, and some locations have been changed or expanded. We tried to repeat all the best from original trilogy, but at the same time we significantly expanded it and rethought our world, adding something new that should have naturally appeared in the zone over the regions. And it will certainly please the players.
Our story, of course, it uses the lore and the events of the classical trilogy. Still, it's only the foundation of the new plot. Our goal is to show how time has changed the zone and those who stayed inside. You can expect to see familiar faces, of course, but after decades they changed, and the world around them changed too. Over the course of the main storyline, we will meet people who changed, entangled, and subjugated by the zone itself. So, like the zone is a place that remains outside of time, it still has changes inside, because being predictable is against its nature.
Also, we've analyzed player feedback from the original trilogy, and we'd like to address known issues and improve the shooting model in the sequel. Also, our primary goal here with the shooting was to enhance the shooting experience by improving handling, sound effects, animations, hit feedback. And also we embrace the change in difficulty settings, the known and existing tropes of it, with separate features like overall number of the enemies in combat situations, their behavior, their efficiency, instead of, switching the regular numbers.
Talking about shooting, Bogdan, I have a question to you, because STALKER has never been just a shooter. Those games have a lot of elements from other genres, and I understand, is it going to be similar in STALKER 2? How do you generally design a shooter in open world?
Thank you, that's a great question. So the original STALKER games were never just about a shooter. They instead provided the kind of experience like a unique mix, or sometimes even a synergy of ideas and concepts that value immersion as the true goal. The role that the players signed up for was always different and unique. You could be scavenger, you could be adventurer, you could be just cold-blooded killer, and folks of all kinds are welcome in the zone. Being a loner, you could decide the fates of others. Aim for the money first, but help those in need. That's the conscience, and that's the core belief, I'd say, here. So with STALKER 2, we've done our best to maintain these values, to cherish them and adapt familiar mechanics and systems to, evolve the final result. It's not just a legacy as well, because to embrace the concept of a true open world, it brought a lot of challenges on us and creative opportunities as well. As a result, we had to maintain a constant watch over our system design, iterating through a lot of concepts and ideas to shape the zone into a place where horror and reality coexist, while the adventure is designed to amaze, overwhelm, challenge, and also, scare you. That's our goal as well. That would be a good moment to delve into specifics, but we'd like to avoid spoiling the fun for our players, so let's just say that our world is probably more alive than ever.
Yes, let's say something for players to discover themselves when playing the game. And Seraphim, the mystery was always an important part of the Stalker story. No matter if we speak about who is Trialog, who first arrived at the center of the zone, there is always a secret in the stories of Stalker games. Can we expect the same from Stalker 2?
So Stalker is not the horror game itself, it surely can be frightening, and the very essence of the setting is an expedition into unknown in search of mystery. Looking for some secrets hidden in the most hostile place on the earth, and the unknown is what we fear the most, so I think we will have it, and a lot. Because even the hostile emptiness of the zone itself creates suspense, and traveling through the devastated territory of ecological disaster, you can never relax, you always are waiting for some sort of a threat, an unknown one. And even the safest places, the beacons of life, the hubs can suddenly disappear or become hostile. Essential layer of the zone's horror is its effects on humans and animals, like the name of mutants already bears the mark of some body horror, and the secrets of their appearance, where do they come from, what changed them so dreadly. We still have to find out for some of them. When we see that some of the mutants bear human traits, this is even more frightening. We play a lot about the themes of losing identity, reason, and disillusion in the corrosive phase of the zone, because in the many layers of our narrative we have this theme of losing mind, losing something that was making the core part of you. This is starting from the mindless, scorched by the emissions, so-called zombified, and the controllers who taking you, creating a slave, mindless slave, the visions inside psi fields, the weird physics of the anomalies that abandon common logic, and the dread that slowly crumbles to the stalkers that stay alert in the swamps. Well, there is a lot of it, and we know that mystery is somehow a core thing for Stalker, because Stalkers, they seek the wonders, and the artifacts or profit they are seeking, it's always tied to the things that you cannot approach in daily life.
Both you and Bogdan already told a little bit about it, but let me just poke a little bit more to everybody. Why do horror elements fit in this series so well? Like, we had very, very creepy moments in the original trilogy. I expect we will have the same thing in Stalker 2. You're saying that it's mostly about this hostile environment that helps to build this horror atmosphere in Stalker games?
Yes, the horror itself is native to Stalker universe, I'd say, and for a lot of reasons. First of all, we have a unique foundation coming from the actual historical events and the place that I believe everyone should be able to see one day. And, traveling to Chernobyl exclusion area is always a unique experience for everyone. We have a solid foundation coming from the previous games, and as the zone, as the concept is key to the universe, because, Stalker can be imagined without the zone as we see it. All the different things here and there. They are just scattered throughout the game that may actually scare you. In addition to body horror, we can actually see the horrors of the mind, the famous C-conscious and their experiments. All of those things are just hard to imagine, but yet we present them. And as it comes, the horror of it is just imagining what happened here, where no one would see, where no one would hear you scream all the time back then. But in addition to what happened there and, the intellectual horror of imagining someone doing those things to you, there's an actual threat, because we're going for the immersion and we'd like our players to feel included in the zone, to feel that they're part of it. And with it comes the responsibility of, you have chosen to enter the zone. You have to bear the consequences. A lot of horrors may happen to those that explore the zone. That's what you sign up for.
But of course, Stalker isn't only about the horror and the story, it also is about how it looks. I love Stalker series for its unique atmosphere built on the proper light and colors. And I'm curious, Dmitry, how do you approach your work as an artist to recreate this atmosphere but also make it even better and offer something new?
Unfortunately, until the release of the game, I can't reveal many details, but I can answer your question like this. A special integrated approach to creating a Stalker atmosphere is what I have always loved Stalker for. When creating our world, we use all technologies and all techniques available for us. Narrative, sound, light, gameplay, level design, level art. We also try to influence the deep feeling of the player and not rely only on screamers. The main idea of the atmosphere of the zone is a return of person to his origins, to life where the world around him was stronger and more dangerous, where the fear of unknown was quite justified.
I have one last thing I want to talk with all three of you guys. Russian invasion is a horrible event in the history of Ukraine and the whole Eastern Europe. We all stand behind your soldiers and we hope for peace, but I know there is no simple answer for this question, but how do you develop the game in the shadow of war? How do you stay focused on the project when such horrible things are happening around you?
These days, the beginning of the full-scale war were the worst of my life. For this, I was living in Bucha, and it's really terrible when your home and its people appears on the covers of the world media as one of the first evidence war crime by the Russian army. It was a very difficult time for GSC. It's scary and painful when your really talented colleagues take up arms and go to a different country. We had to transfer our release date and relocate the biggest part of our company to Prague. But we continue to do our job and continue to support and believe in Ukraine. And I want to thank Poland and other countries for supporting us.
I can say, the war was near us for a long time. It's not started in 22, and I know that several of our colleagues had to leave their homes long before this year. But now the war is growing, it's threatening to consume even the safest places in this country. And as for me, I was on the train going to Kyiv, and I received news about the full-scale invasion, and it was something like a turning point of whole life, riding straight into the city that where there are reports about the rocket strikes. Now, after all those months, more or less, I can distract myself from fear of death, delving into work, and hardly there is a day without an air alert. You don't know if you are going to be one of those who will be in the news so in the morning. And still, at least I know there are teammates who can pick up my work in case it something goes too wrong.
I would agree with Seraphim because it's only the trust in our colleagues, both in our Kyiv office, in Prague office, all across Ukraine, and even those who took up arms to defend our country, that sometimes keeps us going. Because, we often start our days with horrible news, like those you would never expect. So something that was never supposed to happen has happened, and it's just this morning. And it's yet another day that you have to leave. Also, we spend a lot of our nights listening to the sounds of sirens and sometimes even explosions. I don't want to say that it's a daily occurrence here, but in fact, yeah, it does happen quite a lot of nights here. Still, it's essential that our team works as a whole. We support each other and we overcome all the challenges and threats as we proceed. So, for instance, in Ukraine, each and every member of our team has to leave for the shelter once an area raid is issued in the region. Also, with all the chaos that Russia has brought to us, we now have an additional motivation. We want to create the best game to share with the world. That's our motto, I'd say here, because we want to create a true Ukrainian game from Ukrainian developers about the Ukrainian Chernobyl exclusion zone. Despite the relocation of a part of our team, despite the countless shellings and horrible events, we persist. We persist for our friends, for colleagues, for everyone who took up arms and protects the country, and in part for those, future generations that will be able to play the game long after we win this war. That's what keeps us going.
Guys, thank you very much for your time you had for this interview, and I admire your work, I admire your brave, and all I can say is that we are all waiting for Stalker 2. Please stay safe and provide us the best Stalker experience ever. And Slava Ukraini.
Heroin Slava.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Lukasz.
Thank you.